Stop it. Get some help.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Because your dad is on his knees for it.
Yeah, boy.
This weird obsession with people's genitals must end. The Reddit threads about how big mine is. Fuck you. Gross.
Ew.
This is digital sexual harassment, and it's gotta stop. What I do with my body and your father has nothing to do with you. But
Shut up!
while we're here though, a little 101, a very small percentage, something like 5% of trans girls, maybe less, pursue bottom surgery. It's inaccessible, it's an extensive recovery process, there's a lot of stigma, I mean, there's tons of reasons, none of which are anyone else's business but hers and anyone she involves in that decision.
Ha! Gay!
Some trans girls keep them because they're tops. Like, do you know? Back to your father for a sec. I think we've said this over and over again. Like, we're not walking around in the wrong bodies. Y'all have the wrong perception of how to respect us in society. And
no offense, but I really don't care.
sometimes that comes with feelings about our genitals, and sometimes it doesn't. But like, why are you asking a stranger about their genitals?
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Why? Why are you doing that? There are sanctioned times where I post a thirst trap and I say, go wild in the comments. This is your space to do that. Stick to those times because this stuff is weird. And I don't even know if you meant to be offensive or not, but like this, I'm tired of this stuff. It's so invasive. Leave us the fuck alone.
Oh, boo-hoo. Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
Holy shit, there's a lot of new people on my page, so I'm gonna do a introduction / answering a bunch of questions so I don't have to keep answering them in the comments. My name is Pax Green, my pronouns are they, them.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
And I am a non-binary trans person.
You're joking. Not another one? Oh, for God's sake.
From a teeny tiny town in North Carolina that you've probably never heard of. The first thing I want to address is I am not cis.
Well, duh.
I am trans.
Okay.
I was assigned female at birth, and I started transitioning when I was about 13 years old. To me, being trans means transitioning away from the gender you were assigned at birth, and so I also have gone through medical transitions that I started in my teens, which saved my life, which has made me continue to advocate for trans kids. I was a trans kid, and now I'm grown. I'm a whole lot of things. I'm an educator. I've been a hairstylist since I was 15 years old. I'm an advocate. I advocate for trans rights across the board, as well as diversity, equity, and inclusion across the board.
Oh my God.
And recently, I became unemployed. I still work for Pulp Riot, but I became unemployed because I quit the most toxic salon. Well, I shouldn't say salon. The most toxic boss I've ever had. I quit. So I'm unemployed. For the first time in my life. Which is a lot. I've had a full-time job since I was in my teens. I actually don't have a formal education because I was pulled in and out of public school as a kid. I'm very Appalachian, and I used to be really ashamed of it, but as I've gotten older, I have channeled my inner Dolly Parton.
What?
And I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not proud of it because there's a lot of truth to the bigotry and the ignorance that exists in the Appalachians.
Really?
But I'm also not ashamed of it because I am not an ignorant stereotype. I'm also a dog parent. I have 2 dogs that are my entire world, and you've probably seen them already all over my page. I got Damon, I got Lily. All of this to say, welcome if you're new here. It's gonna be a fun ride. I'm gonna be posting a lot more. I think I'm gonna start doing like a weekly vlog update again, because what the else have I got to do?
I'm so broke right now, but I'm starving.
I'm unemployed. because I quit. Oh my God. All right, I gotta stop this. It was great to meet y'all. Bye.
What if J.K. Rowling's husband cheated on her with a tranny-licious diva? So now she spends all her free time harassing less than 1% of the population.
Delete! 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 Delete!
To catch everyone up to speed, my wife put me in a corset, and
What the hell is even that?
this is what it looks like, and it stemmed some conversations, or it created some, about what non-binary people look like.
I very much learned about the term non-binary from my delightful wife, and I also learned about the term genderqueer first, which was sort of before we kind of had non-binary as a term. Genderqueer was a lot more of a common phrase to find, and it meant that I spent a lot of time doing what you do when you don't know what something is, or at least what I do when I don't know what something is, which is extensively researching it.
We're waiting.
And it meant that I found a lot of different ideas of what non-binary is and could be, and that was extremely confusing, but also means that I have a lot of interest actually in a lot of how gender gets expressed, actually not in the way that you do. Yeah. And that's not in a bad way to them, but much more in I find it very exciting the fact that gender can be quite so multifaceted.
Many unbearable hours later.
Spoken on here before at length about the elements of gender, including gender presentation, and the irony being, of course, that corsetry would have been worn by most people at various points to create various lines. And this is combining with a binder, as we said in a previous video. Now, I like androgyny. The fact is, non-binary is a kind of catch-all term. It just means that I don't feel like my gender slots neatly into a binary. However, if I was to describe it, I'd probably say I'm more trans-masc. I'd say I'm, softly masculine. I've got lots of different words I can use to describe my gender, but
that is one big pile of shit.
But it's still trying to almost fit it in a binary. So when I go for my presentation, because I am in a female body, I try to push more mask to kind of try and reach something a little bit more in the middle. And this has meant I've often been very uncomfortable wearing more feminine things. So I don't feel comfortable. I actually feel quite dysphoric if I'm wearing dresses. And normally if I'm wearing corsets, and this was a bit of an experiment to see, can we find androgyny in something that is so heavily associated these days with a very feminine or female form?
2,000 years later.
So look, I'm a cis woman. I don't have skin in this game, and what's more, I'm a little bit audacious talking about it. But there is something which strikes me as a very human thing, which is if I'm seeing an aversion to something as opposed to a sort of gleeful acceptance of something else, then that raises a little yellow flag in my head going, I love you however you present, but I also think there is a level of aversion to femininity which can also on its own become its own problem.
This is so true. We're talking about internalized, yes!
Internalized
misogyny. Yes.
Oh my God! Wow!
That becomes a really important thing because I'm going, I, for my own presentation, my own understanding of my own gender, I am very, very feminine in how I present. And I'm actually, in terms of how I feel internally, I don't really get gender.
I didn't understand a one word you said.
I just have a very weird relationship with gender where I'm like, I just don't feel like I have one. This doesn't feel like a term that really makes sense to me, which was its own journey. Hilarious. I'm sure there are a lot of people in the comments who are going to be like, I feel this.
Anyway, internalized misogyny is genuinely a massive problem, especially within trans-masc spaces. It's this idea, and it's completely understandable, partly because the world has a lot of misogyny in it and a lot of disdain for femininity.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
So if you're there experiencing dysphoria, suddenly it gets conflated with, okay, but girls are icky. And I know that sounds almost silly, but it's that thing of when society diminishes any element of femininity, be it presentation or the roles that you play in society or any of that, or the traits that we associate with femininity, those things are disparaged by society. And it can be very easy as a transmasculine person to say, oh yeah, but society says this is that, and I'm this anyway. And this is kind of, I think, one of the big turf talking points as well. And we can't ignore that internalized misogyny does exist. And part of my journey in this space of being non-binary
into a women's bathroom.
Everybody knows you never go full retard.